Now we just finished creating a simple button here, and you'll notice one of the things that I'm finding in Flash is that they've got some visual tweaks that aren't working perfectly. If you look at this button, it doesn't seem to have the visual look that I was trying to get. If I double click on it, you can see that I see the bevel on here, but I double click off of it and it's not showing me the bevel, which is kind of strange. But I'm going to go ahead and test it with Control Enter or Test Movie, and you'll see that it does in fact show that button. Now hover over the button and you'll see that we get the look of a typical button, which is some sort of rollover state. If you don't have some sort of subtle change with your hover state of a button, then in my opinion it's not really truly a button, because that's one of the things that indicates to us that that actually is a button. So let's go ahead and close the preview window, and we're going to add a little bit more to this scene. Now when we come up to this scene, just having a button kind of come up in the very middle is maybe not quite enough. So I'm going to add a little bit more graphics to this particular thing. So I'm going to go back to my rectangle primitive tool, and I'm going to change a couple things. I was playing with it already. Now with my fill, I'm going to actually change my fill so it's not quite as, it's maybe a different color. Maybe I'll use a gray color or something like that. And I'm going to change the alpha down a little bit. I'm going to take it down to like 50% at first. And I'm going to draw a new square or rectangle here and just see what that looks like. And that actually is kind of interesting. Now you might notice that that rectangle right now is above my button. So one of the things that we can do in anything in Flash is that we can always reorganize our layers, and we can also reorganize any objects that we have on a layer. Since this is a rectangle primitive, it's an object, and this of course is a button, and so that's also an object. Only shapes will go to the very, very, very far back. So let's right click on this particular rectangle that we just created and go down to Arrange, and we'll choose Send to Back. Now we can also do this with Control Shift and the up and down arrows. The Control and up and down arrows will only go through one layer at a time, and then the Control Shift and up and down will go to the top or go to the back. And those are two keyboard shortcuts you want to be able to access very, very often. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the shape of this just a little bit. I'd like to maybe make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to the Tab key. Not the Tab key, I'm sorry. The Q key, which is right next to the Tab key. And I want to just scale this down just a little bit. And I'm going to make this box a little bit smaller and maybe try and get it into the center of my screen. Now one way to center things is actually to go to the Align panel, and I'm going to choose the To Stage and choose Center that way and Center that way. Now I know that this box is centered perfectly. Now I can click off of it, click back on the button, and move it down to where I think it should go. And I like using the nudge myself, and I'm going to use the Shift key with the up and down arrows in order to place that button about where I think it should be. Now let's add some graphics that say something like, "Let's get moving." Now that text is really large, so I can select all and scale it down a little bit. And let's check out what our settings are right now for our color. Right now our color is, I'm going to take it to white, and the alpha is set to 50, so I can take that alpha back up to 100%. And I might take that text down just a little bit more. And on this button, I'm also going to put some text. So I can copy and paste that text just with Control C and Control Shift V. I'm going to select that text and choose Start. I'm going to type that in and then make it just small enough to fit inside that button really well and nice and centered. Now another thing that we want to do is save our work right